Okay, Bismillah. Okay, folks, welcome back to our lesson. We're looking around it to the nearest tens and hundreds. Now, let's have a look at these questions here. Now, when we round to the nearest 10, what we need to do, I think we should make this a bit slightly bigger. Whoa, that's beautiful. I like that. Okay, that's lovely. Okay, right. Now, we have units and we have tens. If you're going to round up the number 25 to the nearest 10, pay attention, folks. What do we do with the number? So we got this is the number that we're looking at, the tens. This number is called the last digit. And the next number is called the decider. So we look at the decider. And we say if this number is 5 or more, we add 1 to the last digit. So I'm going to do this question on the side over here because we don't have enough space over there. So this is 5 or more, add 1. Okay, and then you stop at the last digit means that is where you stop. If I stop at the last digit over here, what will happen to the number? What's missing? If I stop at the last digit in my answer, what kind of answer do I have? Digit missing, isn't there? It's just like truncated. So 25 rounded up to the nearest 10. Okay, so that becomes 30. So after the last digit, you can fill up with zeros up to the decimal point, where the decimal point would normally be. So 25 gets rounded up to 30. Are we happy with that question? Yes? So we look at this one here. So what is the rule? So the last digit, LD stands for, write this down, folks, on the sheet or in your books. LD stands for the last digit.
Is that D?
Yeah, it just I don't know, it just makes me blocky when I'm recording. And the D is difficult. E stands for the decider. Yes, that is the D, amazingly. Okay, now we have a rule of the decider. So if the decider is greater than or equal to 5, what do? You add 1 to the last digit, LD. If the decider is less than 5, what do you do to the last digit? What do we do to the last digit? Nothing. So we leave the last digit alone. Okay. So we'll show you that example as well. So let's have a look at this question over here now, the 51. 51. Let's copy it down over here and let's analyze the 51. So 51. Okay, so we're looking at the units and tens. So the tens we run next, and that becomes the last digit. This next one is the decider. Okay, now we look at the decider. Is the decider 5 or more? No, what is it? It is less than 5. So what do you do to the last digit? You leave it alone. Here we go. I'm leaving it alone. I haven't added 1 to it. Now what do we do with the gap? Fill in with 0. So the final answer is 50. Okay, are we happy with how we round to the nearest 10? Now when we do the nearest 100, that's done in a similar fashion. Let's quickly move on to the nearest 100 now. You can do. Okay. Now I'll tell you what we can do. Before we move to the nearest 100, I'll give you a couple of those to just a quick practice. Right. From this side here, can we do one? Let me tell you which one I want you to do. Do this one. 25. We done that one? Okay, we done that one. Okay, let's do this one. 47. 47, 51, 94, okay, 106, okay, we don't need 51 anymore, okay, and then we can also do, okay, let's do those couple of questions right now. So the following are the answers to our first exercise. Now when you round to the nearest 100, what do? We do exactly the same style as the round to the nearest 10. So, let's just quickly do a couple of those questions and we can finish our page off. Okay, let's clear the page. Okay, right, let's do them as we do here. So, we have units, tens, hundreds. So, round to the nearest 100, this digit here is going to be called my what? My last digit. And this one here is going to be called my decider digit. Now, the decider is 5 or more. What do? We add 10. Add 1. So we have 360. We are rounding this to the nearest 100 now. So this one is 5 or more. So we add 1 here. Okay, so that 3 add 1 is. And what do you do with the rest of the numbers? So 360 rounded up to the nearest 100. Nearest 100 gives us a grand answer of 400. Okay, what about 843? Let's look at 843. Okay. So here's our units, tens, hundreds. So the 100th position is called my last digit. The next one is called my decider. And is the decider, is it 5 or more?
No.
Less than 5. What do you do with the last digit then? Leave it. What do you do with the gaps?
Add zeros.
Add zeros. So 843 actually gets rounded down to 800. That's the closest 100. Okay, are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Nice and straightforward. Finish that section off on the thousands now. Okay, folks, now here are the answers to the following section. We're going to move on now. Okay. Okay, in this next section, we're going to be rounding off to the nearest whole with decimal numbers and rounding off to the nearest pound. Okay, now, one of the key parts of this question here is we need to make sure that when we have our answers, there should be no decimal point at all in sight in our answers. So, for example, let's bring the exercise down. So, let's have a look at this one here. £3.43 to the nearest pound. So, the pounds are where? Here's the pound, unit pounds. We look at the next digit, which is the decider. Because it's less than 5, we leave the 3 alone. So, £3.43 to the nearest pound is simply, the answer is just £3, no decimal point, not 3.00. It is just 3. If you put .00, it is wrong. Okay? Because we're looking at whole numbers now. To the nearest whole pound. You should not have a decimal answer, even though it's equivalent. So even though £3 is the same as 3.00, that is not the answer. The answer is just 3. Okay? So next one over here, £5.54. So there's our unit pounds. We look at the next one as the decider. And that is 5. So you add 1 to the 5 over there. So £5.54 gives an answer of simply £6. And that's it. Similarly, if we do 8.2, that's like a normal decimal number, that's pounds. So 8.2 to the nearest whole number. So there's our units. So that's our last digit. This is the decider. Because it's less than 5, we leave the 8 alone. So 8.2, a number to the nearest whole number is
8.
Just 8. Okay. So we have 16.7. So this is our units to the nearest whole number. That's going to be my decider. Because it's 5 or more, we add 1 to the last digit. So 16.7 becomes simply, and that's it. Not 17.0 to the nearest whole number. Okay, go on. Okay, folks, I want you to finish the 2 sections up now. So we've done now, we've put some more answers in here for the students to check their answers again. And they've got them right. Mashallah, that's good. We can move on to the next part. Okay, and that's this part here. Lovely. Okay, folks, the next part of our exercise today is rounding decimal places. Exercise 16. And we're going to start with a little small introduction. Now, first of all, we need to be able to recognize what's the difference between decimal point and the decimal places. Now, the decimal point is quite obvious. The decimal point is that black dot over there, which I've highlighted now in yellow. Okay? That is called the decimal point. Do not get that confused with what we are doing today. So that is called the decimal point. And there's only one decimal point in any decimal number. But as you will see, when we do decimal number, these numbers, there are many decimal places. So let's have a look at the places. So where's the first decimal place? Fatima, the first decimal place is where? What digit is in the first decimal place? Whoa. 3 is the first decimal place. 3 is in the units position. It's not in the first decimal place. It is the 0. And the second decimal place Ali is 6. And the third Ruqayya is? And the fourth Zainab is?
5.
And Layla, the fifth one is? 4. So we say first. Okay, write this example down and label it. First, second, third. So these here are the decimal places. And this is the fourth. Label it. What I'm doing, please do the same thing. I'll look at your work in a second. This is the fifth decimal
Place.
decimal places. So these are the decimal places. So we need to know what the decimal places are. Okay, another concept that we're going to be using, which we have already been introduced to, which I will rewrite again over here. The concept is that of the LD. And what's LD stand for? LD stands for the last. So after the last digit, there should be no further digits. That's the last digit. So if you're the last one in the class, there should be no one after you. Okay, LD. And then we have another one,
DE.
which is the DE, not decimal. That's called the decider. That's the decider digit. And that decides whether we round up or leave it alone. Okay. Yeah. So we say if the decider is 5 or more, we add 1 to the last digit. And if the decider is less than 5, we leave the last digit alone. Okay. Somebody speaking French. Okay. Right. Are we happy with this basic idea? Now let's look at these examples over here and start to do those questions. So I'm gonna need to get rid of this. I'm gonna rub some of this stuff out because I need some space. So here we go. Okay, get my rubber. You don't need to rub yours out. You just start on a clean place, and we're gonna pick some examples from the exercise, and we're gonna do them together, nice and big. Okay, are you happy so far? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Right, we go. So we have, let's have a look at question 1, question 3, and question 10. Let's look at number 1 first. So we have 2.21. And we want to round this number to 1 decimal place. So Layla, first of all, tell me where is the first decimal place in this question? Which one? The first or second one? Second one. This is the first decimal place. So that's where we want to do the work up to. So that is called my last digit. And the next one automatically becomes the next one. So we circle that one. So we look at the decider. Is the decider 5 or more? No. Is it less than 5?
Yes.
So what do we do with the last digit then? Leave it alone. Copy it down. Okay, what do we do with the gap here this time? Do we fill it with a 0 or do we stop? Stop. Because we stop at the last digit. Before, we filled zeros in because we were before the decimal point. Yes? And we had to fill up to the decimal point. Now we've gone beyond the decimal point. We don't do no more filling. So the answer is 2.2 is the answer to 1 DP. Write that in brackets on the side. Okay, when you do your work, this is at least what I need to see. I need to see the last digit identified. I need to see the decider identified. And then I need to see an action. Okay, let's look at the next question. We have 9.35. And we're going to round this number off also to 1 decimal place. Okay, right. Yusuf, where is the first decimal place?
3.
3. Decimal point, first decimal place, and that's going to be the second decimal place. What do we call the first decimal place? We call this the last
digit.
That's what we want to do up till. We're going to do up till there. And the next one's called the decider. What do we do with the decider? We look at it, analyze it. If it is 5 or more, we add 1. We add 1 to the last digit. So 3 add 1 is 4. Do we fill in the zeros here? No. So we can do, in a sense, we get the rubber and we rub off this part of the line because we don't do that anymore. And we have to, absolutely, we have to stop here. We can't go any further, this line over here. We can't go any further. So I've actually done 2. That's all I've got room on this page to do at the moment. So I've done 2. I'm not doing any more examples for the moment. I'm going to give you some questions to do from this exercise. So hopefully you've copied these examples down already in your work. Please make sure you put a margin in the middle of your work as well. Don't waste space. Okay, hang on 1 second. So let me highlight some questions for you to do now. So I've done number 1 and number 3. You could do number 2 and number 5, number 10, and number 8. So you got 4 questions to do, folks. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. I'm going to come around and see what you're doing. Okay, folks, welcome back. Exercise 17. We are looking at question number 1 and question number 6. Okay, question number 1's over here. Question number 6 is here. Now, these particular questions here, we need to round these up to 2 decimal places. So first of all, we need to identify where that is. First decimal place, second decimal place. Now, what do we need now? We need to identify that the second decimal place is where the last digit is. And the next one, which we're going to circle, is the, what's that called? It's the decider. Now, normally after the 5, what we do, we can put a line to indicate that we're not going to go any further than this. Okay. So that's the last digit. So the question is going to stop there. So that's line like a stop line. Now, looking at this particular question, we look at the 1. So what is this 1 telling us, Ali? What should we do? The 1's telling us to do what?
Don't use it basically.
So the number 1's telling us that because it's less than 5, we leave the last digit alone. Now we don't do anything, we leave the last digit, we copy it down. We copy the 2 down, we copy the point down, and we copy the 0 down.
So if it's over 4, let's say if it's about 6 and
then we add 1.
0,
Then we add 1 to the last digit. That's right. In this case, because the decider is less than 5, we leave the last digit alone. We copy it down. And we stop at the last digit. We have to ignore the space over here. So nothing there. So now our answer is correct now to, so that red line was there to stop us there. I'm moving it a bit, taking it back a bit. So we can now say quite clearly that that's the answer to 2 decimal places. That one's done. Okay, let's look at the next one over here, the next example. We have 0.119. So we need to identify the first decimal place, second decimal place, and that's where we want to be. So that is going to be where we stop, that's the last digit. The next one is called the decider. I'm going to put a red line to indicate that we do not go any further than the last digit. So this is our stop line. Okay. Now, what do we do in this particular question? We look at the decider. So, Layla, what's the decider telling you? It's telling you to do what? To add 1 to the last digit. Why? Because it's not more than 5, because it's 5 or more. So it's not just more than 5. If you say that, you can't say more than 4. So any number which is 5 or more, we add 1. So that 1, we add another 1. Okay. Now what I'm going to do also, I'm going to get rid of this little line on the bottom so you don't get confused. Oh, whoa. Okay. Okay, you put the 1 back in over here, reinstate that, and then we add a 1. We add the 1 in the last digit position. So 1 add 1 is?
2.
And then that will give you just 1,
Point.
and that will give you point, and that will give you 0. So the answer is 0.12, and that is the answer correct to 2 decimal places. So what you see here now, have you copied it all down, folks?
Yep.
What you see here is what I want to see when you do your work. So here comes your questions. So I would like you to try for me now. Question 3, question 7, question 9. Try those now. So please make sure that you don't have the red line in your final answer here. That's just there to indicate to you that you're going to stop there. Okay, now let's have a quick look at those 3 questions. Last digit, second decimal place, decider. So this is less than 5. So what do we do here? We simply copy down and stop. 0.799. This number is 5 or more. We add 1 to the last digit. Add. So we have 0.799. Add 1 is 10. Like normal addition. 7 add 1 is 8. Copy the point. Copy the 0. Because that's a next one. Because 0 add nothing is 0. That is a 0. Okay, I get this number to be 0. Okay, this number is less than 5. So what we do here, we copy everything down and we stop at the last digit, and that's done. 2 DPs. This answer is to 2 DPs, and this answer is to 2 DPs. And that's the end of that exercise 17, sorry. Okay, in the next couple of questions here, we're doing exercise 19. We are placing these numbers according to 3 decimal places. I've adjusted the question slightly by adding a few more digits to make the question a bit more exciting. And it already has been exciting because you already asked the question on how do we do the question. You just do like before. So count, starting from first, second, and third. And then what do? We drop a red line down there, just to show you that we can't go any further than this in our answer. Okay, right. So what do? We label. So first decimal place, second, third. And this third one is going to be called our last digit. It doesn't matter how many digits you got here. That's irrelevant. So the next digit automatically becomes the decider. Whatever. So now, what do we do now? Anybody?
You have to.
Because the decider is
5 and more.
5 or more.
You have to add 1
to the last digit.
3, 5, 6.
And where do we stop? We stop at the
Red line.
red line last digit. We don't go any further. So we add them up. 2 add 1 is 3. 5 add nothing is 5. 6 add nothing is 6. And 0 add nothing is 0. So it doesn't matter how many numbers are put after the number. That's irrelevant to you. You have to find your last digit and your decider. It doesn't matter. Okay, are we happy with that? Yeah? Okay, folks, here we go. 5.5129, okay. Right. So let's do what we've done before. We're going to round this up to 3 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3. That's called the last digit. And the next one is called the decider. Okay, what do we put down there? We put a line to tell us where to stop. We've got to stop at the last digit. Okay, now we do that for each question. So, we have the decider is 9, which is 5 or more. So we add 1 to the last digit. We only add 1 to the last digit. So 2 add 1 is 3. And that's 1, and that's 5, and that's point, and that's 5. And we stop at the red line. All of these numbers get thrown away. Thrown away, literally. And that's the answer to 3 decimal places. Okay, Khadija, I need you facing forward and looking at the board. Everybody. Right, let's count 3 decimal places for the other questions. 1, 2, 3. LD, last digit. This one is called the decider. 1, 2, 3. LD. The next one is called the decider. That's how we do it. That's how we roll. 1, 2, 3. This is the LD. And this is the decider. And that's how easy this question is. So it doesn't matter how many numbers I give you. This is how we deal with the question. We count them. Okay, let's quickly put our red lines in. Khadija, I'll be focused. Okay, hang on a second. We're going to put the red line, tells us where to stop at the last digit. The red line is there for that reason only. And now we're going to quickly do those questions. So now we have 5.515. This number 2 is less than 5. So what do we do now? We just simply copy everything down. Next one. This decider is 5 or more, so we add 1 to it. Mamas. 7. What color? This one? Concentrate what we're doing. Concentrate. Add 1. Now stop there. 9 and 1 is 10. Carry 1. 7 and 1 is
8.
7. Point. 0. Next one. This one is 5. So we add 1. See what happens here? So 9 and 1 is 10. Carry 1. 9 and 1 again is 10. Carry another one. 9 and 1 again is 10. Carry another one. So we're going to add the 1 to the 2. So that'll give you. Now even though 3.000 is the same as 3, you have to leave that as your answer. Because the answer is given correct to 3 decimal places. So that's the end of this particular exercise here. And we're going to stop here for this particular lesson on rounding to the nearest whole number, rounding as 10, hundreds, thousands, and decimal places. Thank you for joining us in this lesson, and we will see you in the next one, inshallah.